What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Light and Lamp Podcast. I am here with Steve,
Hello.
and this is our awards show episode. We're just going to go over the awards that have already been given out, and then as the awards show happens at 7:30, we'll be live reacting to the ones that are yet to be announced. So I guess I'll just go over the kind of quicker ones, the ones that don't necessarily need as much explanation, I don't think. Not to take away anything from these award winners, but just the ones that are kind of just pretty much straightforward. Like, the King Clancy Memorial Award, this year's winner was Pekka Rinne of the Nashville Predators. The Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy, this year's winner was Oscar Lindblom of the Philadelphia Flyers. Obviously, everybody knows about the story of him coming back from his cancer and chemo treatment, and being able to play in the bubble last year as well as a full season this year. So congratulations to him. And actually, also before we really get going, I also just wanted to extend our condolences and well wishes from everybody here at the LTL Podcast to David Pasternak and his wife, as they unfortunately recently announced the passing of their child, who I believe was not even a year old yet. So
It was like 6 days.
yeah, so just want to kind of extend our well wishes and condolences to their family, and just the hockey world is behind you guys, and I don't really know, honestly, kind of what words I can offer, because there really aren't any, but just know that we are all thinking of you guys. So that just kind of popped in my head when I was talking about Oscar Lindblom. So there's also the Mark Messier Leadership Award, which went to Patrice Bergeron this year. The Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award for outstanding impact on one's community with the sport of hockey goes to Kevin Hodgson, who started an outreach program for less underprivileged children using the sport of hockey. There's also Renee Hess, who founded Black Women's Hockey Club, or Black Girls Hockey Club, I believe is the official name. She's been doing a lot of great work in the hockey community, as well as Howard Smith, who also runs a charity related to the sport. So shout out to those guys. You guys are doing great things off the ice in your communities. And then, the last one, I guess, these to be the ones we can actually start to kind of talk about a little bit. The Jim Gregory GM of the Year award went to Lou Lamoriello for the second straight year, finalists being Marc Bergevin and Bill Zito of the Florida Panthers. I think really all that's left to say about this award is that he probably just more or less got this award for managing to work together a team that overcame the loss of Anders Lee and make another Eastern Conference final. So me personally, I probably would have given it to Bill Zito, but it's not like a super hotly contested award, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the only person I think I would have been disappointed getting it out of the three is Marc Bergevin. Okay, despite the fact that they're in the Stanley Cup final. I mean, I don't think in a normal year with a normal season and a normal division format that they would be here right now. And I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but I don't think Marc Bergevin did anything outlandish to beat either Lou Lamoriello or Bill Zito.
Yeah, no. I mean, he wouldn't have... The Montreal Canadiens wouldn't have even been in the playoffs in a normal year because they just flat out didn't have enough points. Like, their division would have... There would have been 4 spots from their division and then 4 spots from the Metro, so... take that for what it's worth. So we'll get into some interesting ones here. The Jack Adams Award, Coach of the Year, goes to Rod Brind'Amour of the Carolina Hurricanes. The finalists being Dean Evison and Joel Quenneville. I can't really argue against this one too much, although I will say, personally, if I had to vote, my vote for number one would have gone to Joel Quenneville. But that being said, I mean, obviously Rod Brind'Amour did a fantastic job with the Carolina Hurricanes this year in a in a pretty decently tough division. So, what are your thoughts on Rod the Bod, who recently re-upped his contract with the Carolina Hurricanes?
I mean, I'm a big fan of Rod the Bod and what he's got going on in Carolina. I mean, they got a great team. They were, what, 1 point off of winning the President's Trophy, or 1 game off. Uh, my pick, though, I mean, Dean Evanston took a team that, like, I mean, listen, no, but I didn't even think they were going to sniff a playoff spot, and they got in. So, I mean, I really think Minnesota deserved it just because of how big of a jump they made. I mean, Florida is a team that, like, I expected to be in the playoff hunt. I think a lot of people did. And Carolina was a team that, again, like, had already proven that they were the real deal. So, I mean, excuse me. I think that Minnesota was a team that had little talent really up front outside of Kirill, the real deal. I mean, the guy was a fucking animal. So, I don't know. I don't hate the pick, but I would have picked for Dean Evanston personally.
Yeah, obviously the Wild having a bounce back year this year. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mr. Kirill Kaprizov if he goes back to Russia. Would be awful for the Minnesota Wild, but
It'd be like the Radulov situation all over again.
pretty much, yeah, it would just be kind of brutal, honestly. This was an interesting one, actually. I thought the Frank J. Selke Trophy. Alexander Barkov finally getting his due here, winning the Frank J. Selke. Finalists, obviously, Patrice Bergeron was there, as well as Mark Stone from the Vegas Golden Knights. And, I'm actually really happy to see Barkov finally getting recognized for the totality of his play. And, I mean, being able to unseat Patrice Bergeron's no small feat. So, what do you think about Sasha Barkov getting his first Frank J. Selke Trophy?
It's about time, honestly. I mean, listen, you can't argue with Patrice Bergeron and his proficiency at both ends of the ice, but it's about time that, like, Barkov finally got the recognition he deserved. I mean, the guy does it all. He's the captain. He's literally does all the heavy lifting for Florida. He eats all the minutes. He puts up majority of their points. He takes all the matchups. And I mean, he does it kind of incredibly, honestly. So, I mean, I think Mark Stone was kind of here on reputation more than anything, just because, I mean, he's good with his stick, but I don't know if the totality of his game would lead me to believe he's the best two-way forward, like one of the best two-way forwards. I mean, that's probably like a really hot take, but whatever. Because like people would probably fight me over that because people swear by Mark Stone's defensive game, but he leads the league in takeaways almost every year. But like, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he brings. I think you saw it in the Montreal series that like he didn't bring everything. Like he didn't. His defensive game wasn't enough to overcome like Montreal's lack of offense anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Mark Stone to me is he's very, very good at causing turnovers in the offensive zone. But I think the thing that sets Bergeron and Barkov apart, at least in my opinion, honestly, is their ability to not just pick off passes and not just... Because, like, obviously Mark Stone doesn't just, like, pick off passes all the time, but, like, Barkov and Bergeron will win puck battles in the corner, more so than I think Mark Stone would. And
I think they play well. They're also center icemen, so I guess that might be something too. But
yeah.
I think it has something to do with the fact that like they both play like what I guess we would consider like a heavier game. Like Barkov's willing to go in to like a defensive corner and muck it out with like 2 or 3 opposition players if he has to, Whereas like Mark Stone really doesn't do that because he's a winger. He doesn't have to do that. He's more of like his takeaways come like on the offensive side of the red line, whereas I feel like Barkov and Bergeron make their turnovers, not make their turnovers, but cause turnovers and make their plays on their side of the red line, which is more important and would lead me to believe that they're a better defensive player. You know what I mean? Like, Mark Stone's ability to create turnovers is really because he's just a really good forechecker. I don't know if it's really necessarily because he's a great back checker or a great defensive player.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right. Where, obviously, the center ice position always has more defensive responsibilities than wingers do, but I just feel like Mark Stone's prowess in picking passes out of the air and causing turnovers isn't enough as a winger to overcome the added responsibility of taking faceoffs and back checking as hard as centers do. And, to Barkov's credit this year, I think his faceoff percentage was hovering around 53%. I think Bergeron's was hovering around 55%. So, for Barkov to do what he did in the offensive zone while also winning over half his faceoffs is, it's something. And once Bergeron retires, I mean, this is pretty much going to be the Alexander Barkov Award. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think Ryan O'Reilly might get one or two more if he gets onto the right team after St. Louis, But so I have a question for you.
yeah.
Who do you think got snubbed? Do you think there are any big time snubs for this award this year?
I mean,
I'm trying to think myself. Like,
the thing is, right? Not only do you have to be, this award really should be the two-way forward award, not necessarily the best defensive player award, defensive forward.
I think the best defensive forward, like the wording of it, is always going to weigh heavier and like make it more about center icemen, because like they generally have to play the most defense out of an offensive group of forwards.
I think the only guy that I could really think of that might come to mind, and you can say what you want about a potential bias here. I think Pajot should at least have been talked about. I mean, the issue is, again, he doesn't have the offensive numbers here, right? He only put up 28 points, 14 goals, which is nothing to sneeze at in a shortened season, but 28 points. He was over, I think, 54% on his faceoffs. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I get to watch him every night, be up and down the rink, taking on all these matchup minutes. But I think him aside, really, I don't really think there's anyone that I would say got super snubbed. I mean, obviously now in the playoffs, we can see that guys like Yoel Armia might need to start getting talked about with this award.
See, well, I got one for you, and it's another Islander, actually. I think Casey Zizekas should have gotten at least some talk in this realm. I mean, I know he doesn't have the offensive numbers, but the point isn't, like, it shouldn't be the best, like, we shouldn't be picking the best defensive forward of the group of, like, the elite players in the league. Like, this award should be extended to guys whose whole, like, style is just defense, And I think Casey Zizekas might be, like, the best shutdown center iceman in the league right now. The guy's ability to, like, just eat minutes and, like, take tough matchups and really just lock other teams out is super impressive.
He also, not for nothing, won 61% of his faceoffs this year, which is, like, astronomically high. Especially considering that he is a natural center, so he's not just taking, like, 4 or 5 faceoffs and hitting 60%. Like, he won 142 faceoffs. He had the fourth most faceoff wins in the entire league this year.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's a guy that needs his due, and I don't think he will because he's, again, like a mucker and a grinder, but aren't those generally your best defensive players?
Yeah, so, I mean, I would like to see some of these more specialist type guys get a nod, but, I can't super hard argue against these guys, but I do hope that one day that maybe my boy Casey or maybe my boy JG gets a...
You think, like, the NHL should introduce something kind of like the NBA's, sixth man award or whatever it is? Because the NBA awards the best player who comes off the bench every year. Do you think, like, the NHL should adopt something similar? Again, it can't be like that because we don't have substitutions like basketball does, but, like, so that guys who, like, shine in more limited roles might get a little bit more of, like, the recognition they deserve.
Like the bottom 6 forward award?
Essentially, like, maybe change the wording of the Selke Trophy to best two-way forward and then create an award that's, like, specifically for the best defensive forward,
Yeah. I could see that. I think that would be something that would be
I mean, it's
kind
kind
of
of what we
cool for
talk
the
about
league
with
to
the
do.
defensemen.
Yeah, well, there needs to be 2 awards for the defenseman, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, because I mean, the best defenseman just at this point becomes the one who scores the most points, and it's like that's not
I think you could
okay.
arguably make 3 awards for the defenseman. You could put the best defensive, the best offensive, and then the best all-around defenseman. You know.
Yeah.
Um. So I mean, Lady Bing. Speaking of defensemen, Jacob Slavin picks up the Lady Bing award. Um. I don't really know if there's a whole lot to talk about with this one, honestly. It's
Isn't it usually just like guys with a low amount? I mean,
guys. It's just like whoever plays a lot. I will say though, Jacob Slavin. For how many minutes this guy plays, the
he rarely
fact that
takes
he only
penalties.
I think he had what? Let's see, 2021 regular season. He picked up 1 minor this year, and it was for a puck over glass penalty. Like, for the amount of minutes this guy plays, getting
and
one
for, like,
penalty.
the level he plays at, bro,
like,
like his shutdown ability might be the best in the NHL, and I'm glad he's finally getting some recognition. Like, people are finally talking about him, but like this guy's a monster.
like 2 penalty minutes.
Bro, and the best part was he didn't it wasn't even an infraction on another player.
Like, I'm almost positive that this guy plays at least minimum 19 to 20 minutes a night.
I think he eats close to 28 minutes a night or something.
And yet this guy's just out here like ho-hum. In the playoffs, he was putting up 22 minutes a night, 24, 26. Like, he's just like, oh, ho-hum, like 1 penalty all season. Like, how?
Bro, think about it this way. His whole job was to shut down some of the most high-powered offense in the league, and he managed to do it without taking a single penalty.
Yeah, so shout out to you, Jacob Slavin. I'm glad, that people are starting to recognize.
That being said, Austin Matthews also, I think, only picked up like a handful of minors, like maybe 1 or 2. And like he scored almost 50 goals.
Well, speaking of, Rocket Richard Trophy, Austin Matthews puts up 41 goals this year. The other 2 behind him were Connor McDavid and Alex DeBrincat. I mean, like, far and away the best goal scorer we had in the league this year. 41 goals in 56 games is ridiculous. He was on pace to hit 60, the first time since Steven Stamkos did it. And honestly, not to kind of like sneak preview this, but he would be my pick for the Hart Memorial Trophy. I think that Connor McDavid doing what he did is always impressive. Obviously, the guy hit 105 points. It's absurd. But nobody else in the league even came close to the scoring proficiency that Austin Matthews had this year.
Nobody even sniffed at it, man.
Like, he was
on another level.
He was unbelievable. And then obviously to talk in conjunction with that, the Art Ross Trophy, Connor McDavid, 105 points. I mean, is there really any way to stop him besides flip the calendar over to the postseason?
I mean, no. I guess really there isn't. I mean, in 52 games, he scored 105 points. Like, that's retarded. That's just ridiculous. Like,
just gotta flip the calendar to the playoffs, and then
and then he gets absolutely like clamped down on. To be fair, in the final 2 games of that series, he put up like 6 points. So
he tried,
but the first 3 games he did nothing.
So those are the awards that have been announced. Obviously, we will discuss, the Calder, the James Norris, the Ted Lindsay, the Vezina, and the Hart as they come up.
That weird motorcycle show ended.
But we have some LTL Podcast specific awards that we want to talk about. We have 3 awards here that we've come up with. One of them, the first one, is the Wayne Gretzky Award, which we have dubbed the player deemed to have the best overall playmaking ability. My pick for the winner was Patrick Kane, with the finalists being Connor McDavid, Patrick Kane, and Mitch Marner. I just think that Patrick Kane, like, we all know the dude can score. It's no secret that Patrick Kane knows how to score. but I think he really drove possession and drove the offense in a distributing role this year, with some less than healthy teammates and some shuffled lines. So what do you think about the inaugural winner of the Wayne Gretzky Award? Who's your picks for finalists and winners?
I'm gonna be honest. I picked from your finalists because I really didn't disagree with any of them. So I agree with you on the winner, just because Patrick Kane, like it's hard to argue with Connor McDavid or Mitch Marner, honestly. But Patrick Kane did it without any like elite talent really to help him this year. Kirby Doc was out. Jonathan Toews didn't come back at all this year. I mean, DeBrincat popped off and had a great year, but that being said, like Patrick Kane was like the lone guy for that entire Chicago offense, and he managed to elevate like all of them and bring them all to a level like they were competing for a playoff spot for like a while.
They were like second in the division for a long time.
Yeah, and then obviously for obvious reasons they fell off, the lack of goaltending and defense being number one. But anyway, Patty Kane really stepped up and killed it, and I honestly, if he would have maintained the pace he was at that point in the season, he would have been my vote for most valuable player. But
so we do have two more awards. We'll save the last award for the end, but real quick, we're tuning in here as the Calder Memorial Award gets awarded. I think there's no way that Kaprizov doesn't win this, right?
Yeah, this isn't a surprise, so.
They have our boy Patty Kane announcing it.
Speak of the devil himself, right?
I think Nedeljkovic and Robertson. I think if there was a full regular season, Robertson would have caught up because he was on a torrid pace at the end, but he kind of just ran out of runway, and Kaprizov just dominated this year, honestly.
Yeah, the kid. I mean, he never looked back, right? He scored his first goal in overtime, and then just never looked back. He's an animal.
Yeah, there it is. All right, so
to the surprise of literally nobody.
So, what does this mean? I mean, obviously, the idea here is that we don't really know where he's going to end up next year. But what does this mean for the Minnesota Wild? Because this is the first Calder Trophy they've won ever, maybe? I can't remember the last time they had an exciting young player besides Mikhail Granlund.
Who flopped.
So, what does this mean for the Wild?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Is it a sign that, like, of the process and them being, the process almost being over? Or is this more that, like, he was just so elite that he managed to carry the entire team? I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. And the real problem is, like, if he goes back to Russia, the Minnesota Wild are kind of
they're kind of done.
Yeah. Like, that's a big problem to have. Especially when Kevin Fiala took kind of a step back this year and wasn't the player that, like, they expected him to be.
So let's do our other podcast award because we're going to save the last one for last because that's always the most fun one. But we have the Steve Ott Agitator Award, kind of giving a nod to the dudes that are the biggest pests in the league combined with a higher level of play. My finalists were Marchand, Wilson, and Perry, and my winner is Corey Perry for the work he's done with the Montreal Canadiens, being an absolute pain in the ass.
My winner was Brad Marchand, just because, like, you cannot get away from this guy. If he's not, like, licking guys or, like, doing some, like, absolutely buck wild stuff on the ice, he's scoring goals. And, like, what's the bigger pest than that, right? Like, if he's living in your head and then he's going out and putting up goals, and to be honest, he was the only member of, like, that quote-unquote perfection line to really be effective against the Islanders. So, for me, that's where I stand on that one. I think Marchand kind of wins it both based on reputation and his ability to just be, like, he just can't be silenced. Like, you cannot take that guy out of the game. He will make a difference on the ice one way or the other, you know?
I just want to point out something real quick. The NHL
Mm.
put they're showing the Lindsay Memorial Trophy finalists, and they put together the Sidney Crosby highlight package. And one of those goals Crosby scores, Varlamov fell down on his own, and he had an open net. Like, you couldn't have found a better clip for him. Like, really? Anyway,
Guess not, man.
This is the Ted Lindsay Award, most outstanding as voted upon by your peers. Essentially, the mini version of the Hart Memorial Trophy. This year's finalists are Crosby, McDavid, and Matthews. I have to think that I could see Matthews maybe getting this, honestly.
It's a toss-up for me. I think it could go to Matthews or McDavid. This is the one I wouldn't be mad McDavid winning.
They have
Are they
Leon
talking
giving it
about
away.
Draisaitl?
Yeah. Because he won it last year, so I guess they're having him give it away, which is kind of messed up because it's like, oh, hey, here's the award you didn't win. Give it to somebody else.
Surprise, Connor McDavid won the award. Wow. It's almost like he's the best player in the league or something.
Yeah. I'm not surprised, though, because, especially for an award voted on by the players, they have
play
to
with and against him.
Yeah, having to deal with him every night has got to just be a nightmare, right?
Gotta be the worst thing. Like, you see him on the lineup sheet, and you're like, oh, God. Like, what is he going to do to me tonight? Is he going to posterize me?
Connor McDavid is rocking some crazy earbuds right now. What the hell? They look like off-brand, like, Walmart Beats.
Nah, bro, he probably just, like, used the YouTube promo,
For
www.com, like, whatever, / Connor McDavid.
the Raycon earbuds.
Yeah, bro, Raycon, that's it. That's the brand.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen maybe Matthews get a little bit of recognition from his peers, but, I mean, 105 points in a shortened season like this.
And, like, carry and also, like, drag the Edmonton Oilers kicking and screaming into the playoff conversation.
I mean,
into the playoffs, but
obviously, part of the numbers up in that North Division were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, he would not have been putting up these numbers in a normal season. The Pacific wouldn't have been great this year either, granted.
he
But
still would have to play the other Western Conference teams. He would have to play play at least 2 games against Colorado, St. Louis, like tougher teams, and then at least 2 games against all the Eastern Conference teams.
right,
So they weren't like free wins. Whereas
he
this year he
wouldn't
got
have
to like
played-
pound on Vancouver.
yeah, he wouldn't have played Vancouver and Ottawa 16 times. Like,
Yeah, bro, he got to pound on like 2 of the worst teams. I mean, granted, he would have got to play Detroit twice, but how much damage can he realistically do to Detroit twice?
not
He
to
didn't have
mention.
16.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it was like he doesn't have 16 chances at Detroit.
And not for nothing too, but the team defense on even the highest levels of that Canadian division aren't great, right? Like, the level of team defense you're getting out of the Toronto Maple Leafs, or in the regular season anyway, the Montreal Canadiens, they're a different beast in the postseason, but regular
Carey
season.
Price is a different beast in the postseason.
Yeah, like, even the team defense of the highest caliber teams, not exactly,
World beaters.
like, you're not exactly playing the Boston Bruins or the New York Islanders or anything like that.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So, there's no doubt in my mind that those numbers are definitely inflated. But, I mean, again, that's not to say Austin Matthews can't put up these kind of numbers because he has the talent to.
I mean, he scored 48 last year in a shortened season as well, so.
Right. So obviously he has the talent to put up these numbers, but I think that he was on pace for like what, almost 200 points.
Like a Wayne Gretzky-esque season.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? I mean, the Pacific's gonna suck out loud next year too. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, say Seattle might come in and absolutely body that division. They get to beat up on those California teams as what 18 times.
You get to play the Sharks, the Kings, the Ducks, the Coyotes.
The Yotes are getting moved to the Central.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. So you get to play the 3 California teams, then you get to play Calgary, who knows what they're gonna look like next year.
Yeah.
The Vancouver Canucks, which I have faith will be better next year because they should have been better next year, but again, who knows? And then an expansion team plus the Vegas Golden Knights, which I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights are a good team, but and an expansion team who we don't really know what we're gonna get out of them, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
So, I'm not thrilled about that Pacific Division next year because if the Kraken are effectively an expansion team, or like what they should be in theory, which is not Stanley Cup contenders, you know, you're really only going to have like 2 competent teams in the whole division. Like,
oh baby, they're handing out the Vezina.
all right, so Vezina Trophy, you know, Fleury, Grubauer, and Vasilevsky. I got to be honest with you, like, I do think that Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the entire NHL. But if I had to hand out this award myself, I think I would give it to Philip Grubauer because he was behind a less defensively efficient team. And he still managed to put up crazy numbers.
That's fair. I honestly probably would have given it to Fleury because he rebounded really, really well. After struggling a little bit last year, he kind of came back and took the net and really, like, backstopped that Vegas team to where they were. I mean, he struggled in the playoffs, but this is an award for the playoffs, so.
Who knows where he's going to be next year, too, right? Like, honestly.
If he has his way, Vegas, but.
I kind of talked about this last podcast. I think that Vegas needs to pick a lane here because, like.
They either to trade him or Leonard. You can't have your cake and eat it, too, you know? It's not fair to the guys.
I just think that we saw in the playoffs it kind of just became a distraction. Like, well, could they go to Leonard? What if they go to Leonard? It's like, you know.
It's not good for a goaltender, especially not, like, a veteran to have, like, this looming threat, like, always over his shoulder, you know? Like, I'm not saying a little competition isn't good between goaltenders, but, like, this is essentially what happened to Vancouver when they had Corey Schneider and Luongo. It's like, bro, like, just you have to pick one. Like, take one and let the other go. You have to.
Is Marty just in his kitchen?
Probably.
And the winner is... Wow. Fleury gets the dub. All right. I think that's the first time...
1 for 1 tonight.
First time he's ever... Well, technically 2 for 2 because we both called Kirill, but that was kind of a slam dunk, right?
Yeah, that was pretty much a given, right?
You know what? Good for Fleury. Like, under normal circumstances... with playing with a guy like Robin Leonard, he probably wouldn't have had the starts to get this kind of award. But with Leonard going down with injury, he really kind of took the reins and willed this team into almost winning a division.
I mean, not for nothing. Fleury is like being a veteran. I imagine the fact that he was able to get into games and stay in games and get into a rhythm and not have to worry about like, well, if I screw this game up, like I'm gonna get benched. You know, like I imagine that really helped for him this year, and like he shined in that situation. Like when he was the undisputed number 1 and just could run with it, he was lights out. You ever notice that about Fleury? Every time he like starts to quote unquote struggle, it's when like the team is trying to push him out with another goaltender.
It just kind of seems like this guy can't stick, and it's always been a really bizarre thing to me because he's a 2-time or 3-time Stanley Cup champion. He didn't really start for the last one, but
He didn't start for the last 2, but yeah,
like a 3-time Stanley Cup champion who's
consummate professional,
consistently been at or near the top of the league in all these stats, and
I think he's top 7 or 8 all time in wins. Like, guy's an animal, you know?
it just seems like there's always something younger and better out there, right? Like he's like the old housewife that everyone keeps like kicking down the curb. Like,
Bro, she's all reliable, bro. Like you know what you're gonna get. Like, and honestly, what he's giving you ain't bad.
what he's giving you is like borderline elite.
Elite. Yeah, bro. Like you're not coming home to a fucking horse.
James Norris. If I had to,
If Adam Fox doesn't win this award, I'm gonna be so angry.
I
I'm gonna
think
be upfront about it.
I think he should, but I think that Makar is gonna get it based on a little bit of reputation, honestly.
Bro, if he loses to Hedman, I won't be mad because Hedman's gonna be winning on reputation, and that's fine. Because Victor Hedman's reputation is kind of bulletproof, honestly. Like, you can't really argue with him. But like, if he loses to Kale Makar, bro, ooh, I'll be mad. I'll be heated.
There's gonna be some spice. Fifth straight years of finals for Victor Hedman. Jesus Christ! I mean,
Yeah, bro. Like,
come on, dude.
Guy is an animal, bro. I just want to see Adam Fox win it because I want to see the first Ranger since Brian Leach to win a Norris Trophy.
Avalanche's first Norris Trophy final since what, 2002? They said.
Yeah.
Who the hell was it?
Oh, it's Brian Leach. Yes, that means Adam Fox won.
Bro, you're killing me. You're ahead of me on the stream here, kid.
Oh, sorry. Well, they didn't announce the winner. I just saw Brian Leach.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Anyway, did you see that Shane Doan's son is eligible for the draft this year?
I didn't even know he had a son.
Yeah, I was reading a prospect report and it was like, I think his name's Josh. It was like Josh Doan. I was like, what?
Who the hell is Josh Doan?
Well, it's like Scottsdale, Arizona native. I was like, there's no way, right? But it makes sense. He was old enough to. Yes.
I'm gonna assume that Adam Fox won based
No,
on that.
no spoilers. I'm sorry. I forgot I'm ahead of you.
You know, I think he deserves it because obviously what he brings in the offensive zone is remarkable. I don't think he's like the greatest in his own end. He's not a shutdown guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's good
he
enough.
Really stepped it up this year, though. I mean, he got better.
Well, that's
He
what I'm
wasn't
saying.
a
Like
turnover machine.
he's good enough to get by with what he brings in the offensive zone. Like you're not
Especially
sitting
if you
there
pair him
like
with a guy like Lindgren. So
yeah, you're not sitting there like whining and crying about his defensive zone play because he's only putting up like 10 points a night or 10 points a night, 10 points in a season.
Wild. That'd be buck wild. He's putting up 10 points a night. Do you think Adam Fox is on Long Island doing this interview?
It looks like he's in
Like
the
back
Rangers
home?
practice facility.
Oh yeah, you were right. I couldn't see the background. Like my TV's kind of blocked.
So, I mean, what does this mean for this iteration of the Rangers to have somebody like him get recognized in this way?
I mean, if you ask some Ranger fans, it's just the confirmation that he's like the second coming of Christ, and or Brian Leach. But, what I really think is like I think he's gonna thrive. Honestly, I think you're gonna see him like in like the 60-point range with the Gerard Gallant system, which is a lot of like go go go, you know. And he's kind of that kind of player. He's all about pushing the pace and skating the puck. He's of that new school mentality where like the best defense is a good offense. Which, like, when you build your whole team like that, it doesn't really work. But, you know, ask the Toronto Maple Leafs. But having one or two players play like that is the worst thing. Especially when he's, like, your most talented defenseman.
I think it's funny because to me, he's very much the kind of player that those early to mid 2010s Rangers players really needed, you know?
An elite puck mover.
That one guy from the back end who you know is just going to put up his minimum 40 points and give you what you got. Because they really didn't have those back in the day.
Oh, no. We tried to fill that hole, like, I don't know how many times. We tried with Keith Yandel. I mean, to be fair, Keith Yandel was really good for the Rangers. He had 50 points that one year. The problem with Keith Yandel is he's a turnover machine. And if you can't insulate him with a guy like Aaron Ekblad, then, like, he's kind of useless. And we were like, yo, Dan Boyle, get out there with Keith Yandel. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, that was
rough.
not good.
Yeah, very not good. The Anthony Fantano special, not good. Um, but no, you're right. He is kind of like the one thing they were missing. I mean, they also are missing like an elite center iceman, which like it can be argued, do we have one now? But anyway, um, the real thing with Adam Fox is I think he's like a game breaker on the back end. Like, not even just his ability to get like steady points, like the 40 to 50 a year. It's like in big situations when the chips are down and the money's on the table, like he's cash, bro. Like he will come in clutch, and he's done it all year. And I think that's really what impressed me the most, and why I think he deserved it was a lot of his points were primary assists, meaning like this guy was like just an animal. Just he was the last guy to touch the puck before one in the net almost every time, you know? And that's really impressive, if you ask me.
So I haven't talked about it yet, but what does the signing of Gerard Gallant mean for the Rangers in general, and then specifically for a guy like Adam Fox?
I mean, I think it's a great thing. You know how much I've been hyping up Gerard Gallant. Every time the coaching vacancy came up this year, I was like, "Yo, Gerard Gallant!" Like, and as soon as the Rangers fired David Quinn, I was like, "Yo, Gerard Gallant! Like, come on!" And I was actually right this time, thankfully. I'm really glad Buffalo didn't swoop in and sign him, but like then again, they were probably like, he was probably like, "Do I really want to go to Buffalo?" So I'm glad we got him. But anyway, what it means for the team is like I just hope it brings a more like complete game. Like he seems to be able to get his players to compete like every night. Like there are no off shifts with him, you know. But guys seem to really respond to him, and I'm hoping that like he finally gets the commitment out of the team that David Quinn was like always preaching about. Like David Quinn said all the right things for what it's worth. You know, we got to commit to our defense. We got to play hard in all three zones. Blah blah blah. Right? And he said all the right things, but he couldn't get the team to commit. But like Gerard Gallant has a proven track record of getting teams to buy into a system and then having success with that system. I mean, Vegas did it. Florida did it. He also has a track record of getting unceremoniously fired after like 1 or 2 years. So like, who knows? But he might be a pain in the ass with management because he's probably I think he's a player's coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like management might be like, we need this, and he's like, yeah, but like he's playing well, and like I trust him, so I'm not pulling him out of the lineup for whatever you want or X and Y. You know what I mean? Like whatever politics go on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good fit. And we can round back to that, because I do want to talk about that a little bit more. But last trophy of the night, the Hart Memorial Trophy, league's most valuable player. I mean, can you really argue Connor McDavid? And my answer would be yes. You could argue Austin Matthews, and me personally, I would give this trophy to Austin Matthews, just because 41 goals, and nobody else was even in his ballpark. Connor McDavid had Leon Draisaitl in his ballpark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, Austin Matthews was playing a different sport some nights. Like,
Austin, but the best way to describe it is honestly like they're both like they're guaranteed points, right? Like they're cash money. Like they are always gonna be good no matter what, you know, redeemable at all sites. But I like Austin just there were nights where Toronto like didn't even deserve to be in games, and Austin would go out and score goals and just win the game himself. You'd be like, you know what, we need these points. You just go do it. I mean, Connor did the same a lot most nights, but I mean, it's not like Austin doesn't have Mitch and John Tavares and Morgan Riley to play with, you know? So he is pretty well insulated, but to your point, like he was kind of on another level this year. Like he was just absolutely dominant.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Fuck
I wasn't
off.
gonna spoil it for you, but like, yeah, no.
I'm actually kind of annoyed now. Like, can we please seriously like just take a step back and realize the fact that Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL, but he's not playing with no like Leon Draisaitl was the second most points this year.
This is my problem with this award. It's being interpreted as a league MVP, but the wording on the trophy is the player deemed most valuable to his team, right?
Yeah.
If you ask me, Austin Matthews was the most valuable player to the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. Without him, I don't really think they do much of anything.
So
Without Connor McDavid, they have Leon Draisaitl, who scored almost 80. He scored almost 90 points, didn't he?
Connor McDavid put up 105. Leon Draisaitl put up 84. Okay. Austin Matthews put up 41. Connor McDavid put up 33. Austin Matthews almost put up 10 more goals over the course of the season than Connor McDavid did. So, okay, but also keep in mind this, right? Connor McDavid put up 105 points. The next closest player on his team was Leon Draisaitl with 84. Austin Matthews put up 41 goals. The next closest player on his team was... That can't be right. Hold on. There's no way that's actually correct. Let me just fact check myself. Because if this is correct, I'm even more angry if this is actually accurate. Bro, the next closest person on his team had 20. He doubled up the next closest teammate. And then he added an extra one just for good measure. Oh my, I'm sorry, Oilers fans, but come on. How can you, what?
Here's my problem with Connor McDavid. It's the same thing with Wayne Gretzky. It's we already know he's the best. There's nobody going to argue with you and say that Connor McDavid isn't the best player on the planet right now, right? We don't have to keep handing him the MVP award every year because everybody already knows, bro. He is not the most valuable player to his team every single year. I refuse to believe it. You're going to tell me at some point in the 80s that Wayne Gretzky was the most valuable player to his team every year when he had guys like Paul Coffey scoring 40-something goals from the back end? Come on.
I'm just saying the issue here is not necessarily is Connor McDavid the best player in the NHL? Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But the next closest person to him was still over 80 points in a shortened season. The next closest person to Austin Matthews was 21 goals behind him. 21 goals behind him. He broke 40. One other teammate broke 20. Nobody else broke 20 goals this year. And
he doubled and in some cases tripled up or quadrupled up on his teammates.
Listen to this drop-off. Marner gets 20. Tavares gets 19. Nylander gets 17. Hyman gets 15. And then the next closest guy is Jason Spezza with 10 goals.
Talk about top-heavy, huh?
But we're not going to talk about how Austin Matthews is just ripping 40 Genos a year because Connor McDavid puts up 105 points. And then the next closest guy also has 84. That's a joke. That's honestly... No. No. That's a heist. That's a robbery, in my opinion.
Like I said, nobody interprets the award to be the team, the MVP. It's just whoever the best player in the league is, and they just hand that to him. You know. When you have a guy like Connor McDavid, this award is pretty much just guaranteed to be his, unless he has an off year, gets injured or something. You know.
If Matthews had only put up 33, 34 goals, I could be understanding. You know what I'm saying? But Matthews put up 41.
Yeah, bro.
Under normal circumstances, I have no issue with Connor McDavid winning this award, but because Matthews did what he did, it's kind of a joke. Honestly. But, whatever. That's that for you. So, we have one last award to give out ourselves. The LTL Podcast Bum of the Year Award. So we've been giving out bum awards for the quarter. This is the bum of the whole season. My finalists are George Peros of the Department of Player Safety, Tom Wilson from the Washington Capitals, and the entire Tampa Bay Lightning organization. I don't really think I need to explain why these people are all bums. They're all bums in their own way. And congratulations, George Peros. You didn't win shit in terms of awards as a player, but you've got yourself an LTL Podcast Bum Award for your asinine, inconsistent way of handling the players' supplemental discipline, which has led to things like last night, Brendan Gallagher being slammed headfirst into the ice by Mikhail Sergachev, bleeding from his temple, and Sergachev gets no discipline because you set the bar at WWE Power Slam with the Tom Wilson incident. And yet you fine Shea Weber $5,000 for giving Nikita Kucherov a love tap.
And Kucherov gets nothing for taking the dive on it.
So, it's a joke. George Parros, you're a loser. I actually hate you, honestly, as being part of the organization of the National Hockey League that I put so much time and energy into. So, congratulations. You suck at your job. And you should be unequivocally fired. He should be unequivocally fired out of a cannon so far away from NHL head offices that he is banned from the zip code.
You should put the cannon on the roof of the NHL headquarters on 5th Avenue. Fire him out over the East River.
So who's your podcast bum of the year award? And like, who are your finalists, and then who's your official bum of the entire year?
I think the only finalist that I have different than you is the Tampa Bay Lightning. I put in Nazem Kadri instead. Because the guy's an idiot. Like, as soon as the calendar flips over to the postseason... Sorry, did you hear that really loud car in the background?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm going to take that again. Yeah, I put in Nazem Kadri just because whenever the calendar flips over to the postseason, like, the guy, like, just forgets that he can't, like, machete chop guys with his stick or, like, WWE, like, flying knee them. Like, I really don't know what's good with him. He didn't win, though. I'm not going to give it to George Parros because I think you gave him their 2 cents. I'm going to give it to Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to when honestly, Tom Wilson, if you're listening, and I know you're not, you're a scumbag, bro. Like, you need to talk to somebody, bro. Like, he goes from being the most mundane, like, nothing player on the ice to going, like, white hot supernova nuclear in, like, 3 seconds and is hurting people. Like, he's dangerous. Honestly, I'm giving him this award just because he's the single most dangerous player in the league. And if the league wants to take itself seriously and talk about player safety and putting things like concussions and serious trauma that these players, like, will take from long-term injuries, like, seriously, then this guy, we really have to have a conversation about Tom Wilson and whether or not, like, on his next suspension, we need to throw the book at him.
And hit him with another 25-game suspension like we did to Torres.
No, fuck that. Like, I think he's already gotten close to 20 games already. Hit him with a 40-game suspension. See how he reacts when you throw, like, half a season at him, because at some point, like, he's going to kill somebody. I know it sounds like a hyperbole and it's just like a slippery slope argument, right? But, like, chances are if you leave a guy, like, who's body slamming players head first off the ice unchecked with no discipline, like, somebody's going to get hurt badly. And honestly, if the league's going to wait as long as it's going to for that to happen, then, like, they deserve whatever they get for it. Whatever lawsuit, whatever happens, right? But they deserve it because they've had a chance to stop this guy. I don't know how many times, or step in and do something. Kadri, too, honestly. They've had a chance to come in and do something about these guys, and they haven't yet, so.
It's, our two bums kind of worked in tandem this year, a dynamic duo, if you will. Tom Wilson.
Batman and Robin of mediocrity.
Tom Wilson committing actual felonies on the ice, and George Parros looking the other direction.
Bro, at what other job can you show up, body slam one of your coworkers head first off the floor, and then have your union go to bat for you? Like, what? You do that anywhere else, you'd be on your ass without a job. But the NHL is like, it's all right to me. It's like, really? He just, like, hit him with a stone cold stunner at center ice. Like, are you waiting for him to hit him off the top rope next? Like, what are you waiting for? You know?
I mean, Tom Wilson and the Department of Player Safety had 2 different chances this year to rein him in. The first was the Carlo hit, which they didn't give him enough, in my opinion, for that. And then the Artemi Panarin incident, which they didn't do anything, period, point blank, full stop. And And I genuinely think that George Peros is probably the worst head of the Department of Player Safety we've ever had.
Listen, say what you will about Shanahan, he was inconsistent and yada yada, but like for what it's worth, he knew when to throw the book at guys. Like he threw 25 games at Rafi Torres, no problem, without a second thought. You know? I
Yeah,
think
like
the other problem,
go ahead.
honestly, I think I'm gonna add a fourth finalist just because I'm already here. I want to add the NHLPA just because, like, at what point are they going to rein these guys in? It's their responsibility too as a union to protect the players in the union. Like, every player in the league is a union, like a due paying union member. And I don't think they're paying to get assaulted on the ice by one of their coworkers. Like, and the other thing is, the problem is, as soon as these guys get any lengthy big suspensions, they immediately appeal it, and the union has to go to bat. It's like, I know it's in the CBA and I know it's like their job, but like at some point, one of the other players in the union gonna band together and just say, like, we don't want to play with these guys. They're dangerous. They deserve what they get, you know?
Well, when does Tom Wilson's union right to a lower suspension end, and Artemi Panarin's union right to be protected on the ice begin? You know, like,
Right.
you can't go to bat for Tom Wilson without essentially spitting in the face of Artemi Panarin, a player who you're supposed to be protecting.
Panarin, Carlo, Sundqvist, any number of the players that Tom Wilson has taken runs at over the last 5 years, you know?
And
Like,
I do think that the NHLPA needs to do better, honestly, because if the NHL themselves aren't going to do it, the NHLPA has a right, or has a what's it called?
mandate,
A duty.
honestly.
Yes, yeah, mandate or duty. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word, but
Oh, you're
you know,
good, yo.
they have a duty to step up and say something. Like, honestly, they need to look Tom Wilson in the face and say, we aren't going to do this anymore because you're hurting other union members and other players just in general, and I'm sick and tired of having to defend you because you're an idiot. And that's it.
Honestly,
He's an idiot. He's brain dead.
let's look at and outside of it, let's look at it like the real world context of it, like the dollars and cents of it, right? Like Brendan Carlo doesn't make a lot of money a year. I mean, he makes a couple, like $1 million or two a year, which is a lot of money, but not for the NHL, right? Like, it's not obscene money. He gets run over by Wilson, takes that headshot, and he's done. He's out of work. He can't play, so he doesn't get paid really, right? Like, you're taking food and money like directly out of the other union members' pockets. Like, it's like
You're
the
not
real
even like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're shooting Peter in the fucking head to pay Paul. Like,
and then you're not even paying Paul. You're paying Paul's pimp. Because then the union is going to take some of that money from him. Like, it's
Yeah.
so ridiculous. It's so backwards. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's on, like, imagine we had the CBA like we do now, when Dale Hunter absolutely destroyed Pierre Turgeon for no reason. Like, you think he would have appealed a suspension and gotten those 47 games reduced to like 15 for literally ruining Pierre Turgeon's career?
George Paris probably would have paid him money. Been like, oh, hey, the Department of Player Safety has decided to fine itself $5,000 for even considering suspending Dale Hunter.
Imagine the union going to bat for Todd Bertuzzi after he WWE power bombed Steve, like whatever, Steve Moore onto his head and broke his neck and paralyzed him for life. Like, imagine now, like, he appealed that suspension. I think he got like 70 something games or whatever. It was indefinite for a while. Now imagine he appeals that suspension. What is the union's, like, what message is the union sending to Steve Moore's family when they go to reduce this guy's suspension when he literally can't walk ever again? And that's kind of like, it's again the slippery slope, but like, we don't want Tom Wilson to do that to somebody else, and if left unchecked, he might. You know what I mean?
He got pretty close this year because the fact of the matter is Wilson's not getting suspended for going after people's knees. He's getting suspended because he's hitting people in the head.
Yeah, he's going
And
for
if he hits Carlo the wrong way, you could paralyze a man. If Artemi Panarin lands the wrong way hard enough, he could get paralyzed. I mean, Mikhail Sergachev body slammed Brendan Gallagher to the ice yesterday with no helmet on. He could have been easily paralyzed. Like,
you could have killed him.
when does the Department of Player Safety step in and go, hey,
When did it end?
that's not okay.
It's not even like, and it's not even like they're just within the rules. Like, there are guys like Shea Weber who I think are dirty players, but a lot of what they do comes within the rules. They throw big hits, they throw late hits, things that are penalties. Not felony assault, bro. Like, Tom Wilson's literally committing like a felony on the ice most nights. Like, and I know Washington fans are going to be so butthurt and they're going to come running and be like, well, what about this guy and that guy? Right? Well, you know what? Good. Those guys are bad too, but they didn't get suspended. They should have been suspended 3 times already this year. So Wilson should have had 3 suspensions to his name this year alone. I mean, he got suspended for hitting Brendan Carlo. He could have picked up 2 suspensions against the Rangers for trying to kill Ryan Strome with a stick and then trying to kill Artemi Panarin 15 seconds later. Like, the guy's a menace.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the NHL first and second team All-Stars, and they don't make any sense at all.
Oh boy, who made it?
The first team All-Stars: Vasilevsky, Fox, Makar, McDavid, Marner, and Marchand. The second team All-Stars: Fleury, Hedman, Hamilton, Matthews, Rantanen, and Huberdeau. So Barkov's not an All-Star at all, and Matthews is a second team All-Star? What?
Why is Brad Marchand a first team All-Star?
And McKinnon's not an All-Star, period. Like, what?
Where's that Jeopardy sound effect? Bam, bam, bam.
I don't understand, but okay. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
As always, I just want to reach out to David Backus and congratulate him again for still being the inaugural Hall of Fame bum member here at the Lighting the Lamp podcast. We have your plaque and your trophy. Whenever you're willing to contact it, feel free to DM me on Twitter. If not, I'll hold on to it. It's fine.
Yes, he's not a bum of the year. He's a Hall of Fame bum.
Yeah. Also, for your plaque, should we put you in as a St. Louis Blue or a Boston Bruin or maybe an Anaheim Duck? You let me know.
Or just on the LTIR.
Exactly. Let me know.
So my final thoughts: Matthews was robbed. Not that Connor McDavid didn't necessarily deserve it, but Matthews got shanked, 100% without a doubt in my mind. And I hope that Kaprizov doesn't go back to Russia, but if he does, what a one-hit wonder, comes in, wins the Calder, goes home.
Well, like I said, it'll be just like Alexander Radulov, come in, absolutely light the league on fire, and be like, "Yo, I'm going back to Russia, guys. See ya."
And next week's episode, probably just gonna be, let's see, by the time it's next week,
I think a final won't be over because I think they'll have only played like game 4 by next Monday.
Next Wednesday is the 7th, which if it ends in a sweep, it'll be over by then. If not, game 5 will be that night. So
I hope it doesn't end in a sweep. I hope Montreal puts up more of a fight than 5-1.
What we might do next week, if the series is still going on, we will just do like a random episode talking about some off-season stuff. But I don't want to do a quote-unquote midpoint of the Stanley Cup Finals and then have it end like that Friday, So
yeah,
we're not going to do an episode about the Stanley Cup Finals until it's over. So next week most likely will be a random episode of nonsense. Well, not nonsense, but maybe some off-season preview kind of stuff. And some other fun stuff that's coming up. We will be doing a Seattle Kraken expansion draft live reaction episode. Which, when is that again? July 21st. So we will be doing a live reaction to the Seattle Kraken expansion draft, and then obviously we'll be doing, similar to last year, a live reaction to the top 10 picks of the NHL entry draft. So just kind of keep your ear to the ground here. Got some good episodes coming up, and then obviously our off-season stuff's always exciting with free agency and whatnot. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys again next time.